The example of Netflix's business is something you might not find anywhere else. When Netflix started its journey, its biggest competitor, Blockbuster, had more than 60,000 employees and over 900 stores across the world. When it came to sales, Blockbuster was making $6 billion a day without even trying. On the other hand, Netflix didn't even have enough money to buy a new sofa for their small office. He wanted to sell his company to Blockbuster. But instead of listening, the Blockbuster CEO started laughing loudly. History remembers that the same Blockbuster, which once stood like a giant mountain in front of them, was soon brought down to its knees, only a few years later. Welcome once again to Sticku TV videos. Viewers, this story begins in 1997, a time when the internet business trend was rising fast. People like Jeff Bezos were already selling everything online, from pet food to baseball bats. Mark Randolph also had hundreds of ideas, but Reed Hastings didn't like even one of them. Reed wanted a business where customers would come once and keep coming again and again. For months, they kept sharing and rejecting ideas. Then, finally, they found one idea that made sense. Back then, videotapes were the only source of entertainment. People would visit their nearby Blockbuster store on weekends, spend hours choosing a movie, rent it, and take it home. But if they didn't return the videotape on time, a late fee was charged. At that time, Reed Hastings himself had to pay a $40 fine to Blockbuster because he returned a rented videotape late. Reed thought this system needed a serious change. He believed that renting movies through the internet could be the future. But there was a big problem. Each video cassette was heavy and expensive to post. If the tape broke during delivery, it would be a total loss. So, before even starting, their new business looked like it would fail. A few weeks later, they came across an article in a tech magazine, introducing DVD technology for the first time. DVDs were lighter, cheaper, and much easier to mail. That's when Reed Hastings got a brilliant idea. What if we rent movies on DVDs instead of tapes? Customers would order online, receive the DVDs right at their doorstep, and inside the same envelope, there would be a prepaid return envelope to make returning easy. The idea was simple, but starting it needed money, which they didn't have. Somehow, they set up a small low-budget office with cheap folding tables and second-hand furniture. Employees were hired at very low salaries with a promise. If the business worked, they would get company shares. Then one morning, exactly at 9 a.m., they launched their website. They even installed a bell that would ring every time a new order came in. The first order was placed by Mark himself, and the bell rang for the first time. A minute later, it rang again, but this time it was a real customer. By the end of the day, they had received 137 orders, far more than expected. In fact, their website even crashed for several hours due to heavy traffic, meaning they could have received even more orders. But there was another issue. Most people were not renting DVDs. They were buying them. The total sales were only $11,000, and most of it came from DVD purchases. Their website offered two options: buy a DVD for $25 or rent it for $4. Mark and Reed wanted people to rent, not buy, because renting meant the same DVD could be reused many times, giving long-term profit. They knew the only reason people were buying was because there was no big competitor in the market yet. A few weeks later, they received a call from Amazon. Jeff Bezos, who had already conquered the online book market, now wanted to step into DVDs. Bezos offered to buy their business, but Mark and Reed refused. They wanted to build their own brand, and that's how they officially started Netflix. They began with promotional campaigns, one of which offered 10 free DVD rentals using a coupon code. But this campaign completely failed because the coupon codes were printed outside the DVD player boxes, not inside. So even people who didn't buy the DVD player could take the code and rent for free. A big loss for the company. Then something unusual happened. At the same time, President Bill Clinton's affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky became public. The whole of America was looking for that court trial video online. Ironically, the same internet chaos helped Netflix get attention, but not enough profit. Their losses were increasing, and they needed stability. That's when they introduced something new: monthly subscriptions. Customers could now pay a fixed amount and rent unlimited DVDs per month without late fees. This idea worked like magic. On the very first day, 90% of the people who saw the promotion subscribed. While Netflix was growing fast, Blockbuster was still earning $800 million per year just from late fees. But their CEO didn't care about online business. He thought small internet companies could never threaten them. In 2000, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph finally went to Blockbuster headquarters for a meeting. They offered to sell Netflix for $50 million. The Blockbuster CEO listened quietly and then burst out laughing. He thought Netflix was a joke. Reed and Mark walked out of that meeting humiliated, but determined. They knew Blockbuster had made the biggest mistake of its life. Years passed. Netflix grew rapidly, while Blockbuster slowly died. They tried to start their own DVD by mail service, but it was too late. Netflix had already started working on a new revolution: online streaming. No more DVDs, no shipping, just click and watch instantly. It was the first time any company had done this on such a scale. Blockbuster panicked. They rushed to compete, but every move they made only made things worse. Their old policies destroyed them, like charging customers even to rewind tapes or adding hidden fees. They kept squeezing their customers for money, while Netflix focused on making customers happy. And that's why Blockbuster collapsed and Netflix rose to the top. Today, Netflix has more than 13,000 employees worldwide, is valued at over $288 billion, and makes around $19 billion in annual revenue. The same company that Blockbuster once laughed at now dominates the global entertainment world. Sometimes big empires fall not because of enemies, but because they refuse to change. Just like Nokia in mobile phones, they didn't evolve, and others took over. And that, my friends, is how Netflix destroyed Blockbuster, one late fee at a time. I hope you enjoyed this video from Sticku TV. Thank you so much for your love, likes, and comments. See you in the next amazing story.